Rani. Yeah. Hey, good morning, everyone. I hope you're doing well today. On behalf of Cloud Kinetics and Druva team, this is Anju Williams, the head of marketing for Cloud Kinetics, and I would like to welcome everyone to the CK and Druva webinar. How fast can you recover from ransomware attacks? At the onset, a few house rules. The session will be divided into two parts. 50 minutes of presentation by CK and Druva, followed by 10 minutes of Q&A session at the end, and some exciting thing at the end after the Q&A. We will appreciate it if you keep your audio muted throughout the presentation session. During the presentation, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat box and send it to the panelists. We will address them during the dedicated Q&A session at the end. At the end of the webinar, we would be having an exciting survey for all of you. We will be recording the session, and recording will be available on our Cloud Kinetics website later next week. We will be playing some games, and you have a chance to win exciting prizes. Meetings and POC, we look forward to hearing from you and guide you on your journey. How fast can you recover from ransomware attacks? We'll be playing Kahoot at the end of the session, so stay back with us. The top 3 winners will get a prepaid credit card worth $60, $40, $20. And we just don't want to stop here with these webinars. We want to keep interacting with you. If you complete a meeting with us by 31st January, you get a $50 prepaid card. And furthering our interaction from the meeting, if you complete a POC, you get a $100 prepaid card. So this is just, because we want to ensure that you're interacting with us. We really do care about the security of your organization. So today's agenda, what we are going to cover is the growing role of data protection in combating ransomware, the advantages of cloud-native data protection, such as natural, air-gap, automatic patching, AI, and machine learning capabilities over traditional hardware and software. And then the speakers will introduce you to real-world case studies. Further, we'll take up questions. You can type your questions and send it to us. We'll take it during the Q&A session. And stay with us till the end to participate in games. So over to the introduction to the speakers today. So our first speaker is Belvedere Lay, the Enterprise Account Manager from Cloud Kinetics. The second speaker is Bhaskar Sirohi, Director, Sales Engineering, Druva. And third speaker is Zhi Hao, Solutions Architect, Cloud Kinetics. So over to you, Bel, from here.
Thank you, Aju, for addressing the agenda. So without further ado, I would like to introduce myself and Cloud Kinetics. My name is Belvedere, and I'm based in Singapore as an Enterprise Account Manager for Cloud Kinetics. This slide will actually give you a clear picture of who we are, what we do, and why Cloud Kinetics. So Cloud Kinetics is founded in 2012. We are a certified cloud partner of Microsoft Azure, AWS, GCP, and with many technologies partners like Druva, Veeam, NetApp, VMware, ServiceNow. And with a presence across 7 countries: Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Vietnam, India, and USA. So since 2012, we have expanded our business with 350 employees and completed more than 300 cloud migration projects. The main differentiator about us is that we are differentiated cloud expertise, with more than 275 employees who are cloud certified in their respective field. We have a engagement ready team to assist you to build a hybrid delivery model that is highly automated. We are definitely commercial innovative. We can help you to unlock CapEx to accelerate on cloud adoption. And last of all, I would like to introduce our CK product. It's called the Arcus platform. It is a multi-cloud managed services that can show you automated insights to help you to optimize on multi-cloud implementations. So as you can see from here, we have worked with many big enterprises like Singapore Airlines, Equinix, Mercedes, Sony, Thai Life Insurance, and there are many more. So Cloud Kinetics is a global cloud partner service provider that specializes in delivering industry-leading performance and cost-effective solution to better manage. As you can see from this slide, we consist of 4 strong pillars of Cloud Kinetics. We are specialized in hybrid cloud integrations, apps modernization, and DevOps and data analytics. We cater to every level of business needs and wants, be it your startup, your SME, MNC, public sector, financial sector, etc. So we do provide lots of service, to the end user, like cloud migration service, cloud managed services, hybrid cloud, application modernization, DevOps, and data analytics. What CK can provide to you is definitely almost to any solutions out there in cloud industry. So without further ado, I will pass on these slides to Bhaskar, the next speaker.
Yes, Bhaskar.
Perfect. So, so today's topic again is how fast can you recover from a ransomware attack? But just to remind everyone again, there is at the end there's going to be a Kahoot game. So top 3 winners are going to win $60, $40, and $20 respectively. And also, if you're attending the webinar and if you take a meeting, and then if you complete a POC, there is a reward for that as well. Each stage has a reward, as you can see on the screen itself. Now, without any further ado, let me go into the agenda itself, what we are going to cover and what I'm going to talk about. So very basic outline, I'm going to explain you why ransomware is a threat today, how are enterprises or CISOs or customers looking at this particular threat, how wide the impact is as well. I'm going to talk about that as well, and how different countries are tackling this problem in their own way and their understanding itself. I'm going to cover certain use cases as well, wherein we have seen we can come and create differentiators, Druva differentiators. And finally, I'm going to talk about a case study wherein we were able to go and help the customer recover from a ransomware attack itself. So to start with, if you look at ransomware attacks, right, this is something which has been happening for a number of years now, right? But every year, the complexity of the attack and the intensity of the attack is increasing, right? Typically, if you see earlier, only those organizations were attacked which had vulnerabilities, very open vulnerabilities, and people were going and defending their own data centers and saying that we are very well secure. But now the data is out and open. You could be using a SaaS application, you could be using your own data center, you could be using cloud. They all have some sort of vulnerability which can be exposed by a ransomware. And it's not that the vulnerability itself allows the ransomware to come in. The ransomware can come in and exploit a naive user and go and encrypt your data, right? If you see 27% of the companies who basically get infected by a ransomware and who do not choose to pay a ransom, they don't even have a backup, right? So how do they recover, right? The only option for them is to go and pay a ransom and get an encryption key and get the data back, right? And if you look at on an average, how much amount of money are they paying? They paid somewhere around 570K of USD. It's in US dollars, which they paid to the hacker who ran the ransomware, right? And you can see the intensity of attacks, like every 11 seconds, there's a ransomware attack happening. And what is more important is that the average downtime of a ransomware is 16 days today. It can go and increase as well. This is data from 2020. But what we typically see when a ransomware attack happens, you need to go through a procedure wherein you have to lock down your network. You have to clean up your primary environment before you can do any sort of recovery, right? And in the meantime, you're talking to the hacker as well. And a lot of these ransomware notes which come out, they are very time bound. So they would give you a very less amount of time. So for example, here, if there is a ransomware attack happening and they figure out that you have a backup copy, they might not give you sufficient time to go and do a recovery. They might say, if you don't give us a ransom, we might delete all your data in the next 5 days. So you have to be very cognizant about your recovery times as well, right? Talking about few examples, here you can see some of the famous ones which came out in public. Now, what is another thing is when a ransomware attack happens, a lot of companies would pay the hacker, but will not talk about it. And the reason behind it is brand name, and they don't want to expose that the customer's data was exposed. There could be lawsuits following a ransomware attack, because if I'm trusting a company with my data, I would like to see it very much secure. So there are a lot of things involved, but the major ones which come into basically our mind is the Continental Pipeline hack, which happened in US itself. This pipeline transfers oil from Texas to the entire US East Coast. And basically, in this case, they were not able to do that, and they had to pay a ransom to basically go and get the data back. Now, there are plenty of examples which happen. We have seen in our customer base as well, when a ransomware attack happens, they would like to collaborate with us and they would like to recover the data and not pay a ransom, but publicly they don't like to talk about it. Now, this is going to change. So in US, there's a law pending in the US Congress, which basically is going to talk about a scenario wherein if you have paid a ransom to a ransomware or a hacker, in that case, you have to make it public. So that's a law which is coming out. And the reason behind it is when you don't go and involve the law enforcement agencies, the government itself cannot do anything around it, right? So each country going forward is going to come up with their own laws around it. But one thing is for sure, they would like the law enforcement getting active in these kind of cases wherein as a business, you're paying a ransom, right? Now let's talk really quickly about how this ransomware actually spreads itself, right? Now, typically what happens is a ransomware is just a piece of small code, right? It could come through emails, it could come through a file, or it could attack a vulnerability. So it could say that, let's say you have a server which has a open remote desktop connection, let's say, right? So they would attack that vulnerability and they would go and basically enter that system. But what they do is they're getting very smart. They do not go and the day they enter your system, they do not go and expose themselves. They say remain dormant. They go and connect to other servers. They will learn about your file system. They'll learn about your backups. They will in some cases, they will slowly start encrypting data. But there's a day zero event which happens, which is when you come to know, right? Which basically, this is where they go and do a bulk encryption and show you a note on your system saying that your data is encrypted and you need to pay a ransom, right? So, but before day zero, there is day zero minus n days, which typically days to detection of ransomware. If you see over here in 2017, it was 86 days, 2018, it was 85, and 2019, it's 95. You can see the graph is going up. And this data, by the way, came from CrowdStrike, which is a cybersecurity firm. So the idea here is that once you have a ransomware note, it's not that you can go a day previous and recover your data and you should be okay. No, the ransomware entered way before than you think. And that has an impact when you're trying to recover your data. So this is how ransomware enters and sits in your network and scans it and goes and encrypts the data, right? So just wanted to show you from a timeline perspective. Now, where does Druva come into picture? So you have your primary environment, which could be a VM, could be a laptop, could be a database, could be a file server, right? That's your primary environment where your actual production workloads are running, right? And then you have a responsibility to install your security products. Like you would have a firewall, you will have email gateways, you'll have network security. Some of the examples could be FireEye, could be a CrowdStrike, which you have installed and hoping that they will catch the ransomware, right? But let's say they don't catch, because these tools work on fingerprints. So they will go and say, okay, we understand that Conti ransomware has a particular fingerprint, and anything which has a fingerprint we will catch. But there are always new ransomwares coming out and evolving, whose fingerprints are not known to these security vendors. So it's an unknown threat which can come in and impact your primary environment. Now, backup environment, which is Druva, what we do is we take your backup and fundamentally we create an air gap copy between your production and your primary environment. And our responsibility is to make sure that we also identify a few things in your data, which could be unusual. Again, keep in mind, we are not a ransomware detection tool, but we can help you identify anything unusual happening in your data, like encryption, right? We can protect your data, we can detect certain things, and we can respond and recover very quickly by orchestrating with your security tools. So that's what Druva's role is. We are a backup copy. We are airtight, and we can make sure that this data is available in case of a ransomware attack happens. And we also want to make sure this data is recovered in a clean state. Now, having said that, let me cover a couple of use cases here. What a typical ransomware or multi-layered ransomware defense could look like from Druva perspective. So first of all, since we are a backup copy, we want to make sure that there's data integrity and availability of the data, right? As I said, it's an air gap backup. It has a cloud DR functionality as well. So if in case you want to go and bring your workloads in the cloud itself, in a sandbox environment, you can do that as well. We follow a zero trust architecture, which basically makes sure that none of our staff has access to your data itself, right? Along with data integrity and availability, there is operational security, which we focus on. Because we are a SaaS solution, we continuously run patches, we continuously run vulnerability scans and pen testing. There's a continuous monitoring which happens to make sure that there is an operational security and no human can go and infect that particular environment itself, right? And the final pillar for this, if I may call it, is accelerated recovery, which basically means that we need to provide customers mechanism wherein they can quickly recover the data in an incident of a ransomware attack. So things like options to quarantine your data, options to access who access the data, all the metadata, all the logs should be available. Access to malicious file scans. So if you know the fingerprint of your data, you can provide that fingerprint, and we will go and search in the backup copy and figure out if that file or a ransomware got backed up as well. Along with unusual data activity, and unusual data activity I'm going to cover later on, but to give you the gist of it, what it does for you is it goes and looks at your data trend. And based on your data trend, we can tell you whether there is something unusual happening in your data. There's also the entropy change, which we can detect. And I'm going to talk later on in my presentation what exactly that means. Now, all this is happening, all these three pillars as they happen, we integrate with certain security and SIM-based tools as a SIM and SOAR-based tools. Like Splunk is a SIM tool, wherein all the security incidents are logged. So any security incident which we log goes to Splunk and can be used for any security workflows as well. Similarly, FireEye, similarly Palo Alto Networks as well, right? So if you see what Druva is trying to do here is not work alone, but work with all these security vendors which are already present in your environment. And it's an API-based integration. So if you don't see a security tool listed here, we can work because we are a REST-based API. So we can take an API and we can build workflows with your security tools as well. On top of this, Druva is already secured and getting audited for certain things. For example, we are FedRAMP certified. We do follow FIPS encryption scheme. We also do SOC type 2 audits, right? We are HIPAA certified. So there are certain audits which Druva goes on their own. and which are on top of these three pillars which I spoke about. Again, security certifications and credentials. We are hosted on AWS, but these are AWS certifications. I'm not going to go in each one of them, but the ones maintained by Druva, you can see, and these are for Druva SaaS application itself. And if you're familiar with cloud, you know these certifications mean a lot because these are the certifications specifically designed around info security, around cloud practices, which we follow today. Like SOC Type 2 does a very deep audit of all the security best practices which we follow. Along with that, we also do third-party pen testing, like we use Coalfire, BishopBox, and Cobalt.io. And we also do vulnerability testing, which we have a policy which we can give out our vulnerability reports, which can see with every release what vulnerabilities we have fixed and what is pending as well. Having said that, let's talk about the use case of ransomware recovery again. When a ransomware attack happens, as I showed you in one of the slides, on day 0, your first reaction is that please lock down the entire network. I don't want this to spread further. So you would either lock down your data center network or your office network, and then you would start orchestrating a certain incident response, right? So you don't want to spread the contamination. You want to make sure that whatever data got infected, nobody copies that data. So all those things, you start responding very quickly. The second thing you do is you start sanitizing your data, right? And to sanitize your data, you want to go and do certain forensics on top of it, right? What it entails up to is that you will quickly know through your security tool what ransomware it is, and you will have a fingerprint, and you want to go ahead and do a forensic search very quickly inside your data itself, right? The other challenge, what happens is, even if you're able to do forensics or not able to do forensics, the first impression is that, oh, let me go to my backup copy and recover that data. And generally what happens is, if you don't know when exactly the ransomware entered your network or your data set, you might go and you might clean your primary, and then you might recover the same infected copy again and get reinfected by a ransomware. So there's again a bigger issue which we have seen with customers, that they are not able to pinpoint which is a clean copy of my backup which I can use for recovery, right? And the fourth problem is that, or the fifth problem is that you're not able to recover your entire data. You might say, oh, I had this file, I don't know which backup copy that file is today, right? So these are some of the challenges today. And to solve these problems, this is what Druva did. So Druva said that we are going to first develop a functionality which we call as quarantine, which is like containing, which is stopping the spread of the ransomware, right? Or the malware, right? So what it does, you can pinpoint your backup copies, or you can say, I believe in the ransomware entered in last 30 days. So I want to go and quarantine all my backups so that nobody can go and access those backups and accidentally recover from a infected copy. The second phase starts wherein you want to identify what was impacted, right? Now we do have our own tools as well. So for example, we have unusual data activity. It works on two principles. Number one, since we are a backup tool, we know exactly what your data trends are. For example, let's say we are backing up a file system, and within that file system, there are 1 million files. And we know that on a daily basis, there are 100 new files which are added. There are 50 files which are deleted. There are, let's say, 200 files which are modified, right? And that's a trend. Now you can be 5-10% up and down in number of files which are changing or getting modified. But suddenly, if we see that someone went ahead and deleted all the files, or if suddenly these files get encrypted. Now, when an encryption happens on a file, the entropy of the file changes, right? And that gives us enough indication that, hey, all the files have changed, the encryption has changed, the entropy has changed. It means there's something unusual happening, and we are able to point out in which snapshot or in which backup that happened. So now you have a good idea of looking at your data, like, oh, you know, something fishy happened over here. So let me go and act upon this particular snapshot itself. And the final piece is recover. So while you're recovering, you want to do a couple of things. You want to go and run recovery scans, which means that if you provide us a fingerprint, we'll go and scan those fingerprints, and we'll make sure that that data, we are able to show you which exact file is either encrypted or if there is a ransomware copy inside the data itself. And on top of that, there is an antivirus scan which runs as well, right? Now, while you're doing this, this could be a very cumbersome process because you might have hundreds of snapshots. So what we have done is we have created this new feature, which we call as curated snapshot. Now, what curated snapshot does it, if you have hundreds of snapshots, you can say, take my all 100 snapshots and build a new snapshot with the latest copy of the file, which is not ransomware infected. So we'll create a new snapshot with the latest version of the file, which is not ransomware infected. And you can take that curated snapshot to do a clean recovery itself. Now, if you see all this, what we are doing here is we're trying to help the user, first of all, make sure that the spread doesn't happen, this ransomware doesn't spread itself. We're able to identify using scans, unusual data activity and all that, hey, you should not be recovering the ransomware again. And the final piece, we're trying to help recover faster by making sure that you do not go and click on each of those snapshots and figure out which is the right file version to be restored. We will do it automatically for you, and that saves you a lot of time, and you're able to recover faster as well. So contain, identify, and recover, 3 steps, right? Now, again, the same points in more pointed manner. Key capabilities is access insights. Anomaly detection is the one which I spoke about, wherein we are able to see your data backup patterns. Quarantine is the option wherein you can go and take and isolate your snapshots to reduce any spread of virus. And restore scans and curated recovery. Curated recovery is a new feature which we have launched. And today we are supporting workloads like file servers, NAS, and endpoints, which one we are able to go and create a curated recovery and do quarantine and anomaly detection as well. Monitor access, this is another feature we have. And this is, by the way, it doesn't mean that it has to be in case of a ransomware as well. We show you all the patterns in terms of what admin is doing or who is logging in or who is changing the data. That is all logged. So we have immutable access logs, which we are maintained, and these can be taken into your SIM or SOAP. So every time there's an admin who logs in, creates a log, which you can use in future to figure out at that period of time if someone was logging in, you can monitor your access. Detect anomalies. I gave you an example here, wherein if the data changes suddenly from a backup perspective, we are able to identify. So you can see over here, we, in this particular example on March 6th, we are saying there's an encryption. And again, there's a file encryption which happened. There were files deleted. So 2 snapshots we pointed out. And by the way, when this happens, there's an API alert which can be generated and sent to your SIM or SO tool as well. Now, if your SIM tool is integrated with your antivirus or your ransomware detection tool, it can basically go and tell that tool that, hey, this is the server name. Can you go and run a scan, right? Or can you go and run a scan for all the servers which are in the same VLAN, right? So all those things can be orchestrated using your SIM and SO tools. So that's why integration with SIM and SO tools are very important. Orchestrated snapshot. This is very important, right? This entire orchestration with the third-party tools, as I said, SIM and SO tools. The idea here is to make sure that Druva doesn't work in isolation because you already have your security tools which you use. And we want to be part of the workflow and not be isolated when you're trying to do a recovery itself, right? Recover with confidence. I gave you the example of virus scans and file hash scans. Why file hash scans? A lot of people ask this, like, why do you want to scan for a particular file hash? The reason is indicators of compromise. These are known as IOCs. And the idea behind this is that if your antivirus is looking for a known malware, or if there is a known ransomware and you know the fingerprint, you can provide that fingerprint and we can scan your entire backup repository and come back and tell you when exactly the ransomware entered your network itself, right? So we can scan your snapshots, we can make sure they're clean while you're recovering them. And again, the challenge we were also trying to solve here is that we want to create that one snapshot which does not which basically does not have the ransomware print at all. And we want to make sure that it picks the latest file version from a date which you specify. So if you specify a date range and you say that between this date range, get me the latest file version without a ransomware infection and create a new snapshot so that I can go and recover them. You can also call them as golden snapshots, because the idea here is that instead of you laboring and finding the version of the file, this is automatically created for you. By the way, when this golden snapshot is created, we also create a log which you can download, and you can exactly see where exactly we found the encryption. And if there was any file which we missed, so it could also happen that there was only a few versions of a file and all of them got encrypted. We will actually tell you what file got encrypted and what date it got encrypted as well. So it's very detailed. It helps you from a recovery perspective and get back to what your pre-production stage was. This is one example. If I have to explain you how exactly that golden snapshot or curated snapshot is created. So you can see over here, these are the files. So your daily snapshot, when it happens, this is file 1 to file 5. And these are the versions of the file when a file changes. Now, these are numbers, 121, 122, 123. These are snapshot versions. Now you can see over here, this is prior to the attack, right? And for this particular file, it got encrypted here. And this particular file got encrypted here. So at different stages, these files can be encrypted at different snapshots. But when you're creating a golden snapshot, we go and pick the latest version. So here, see, we picked V5, we picked V2, we picked V3 and V3 and V1 for different files. But keep in mind, we picked the version which was not encrypted, which was not infected by a ransomware. And these are all coming from different snapshots. So here V5 is coming from snapshot number 127. But if you see, V2 is coming for file 2 is coming from 125, right? So it's a very tedious job if you're doing manually, but we have automated this process so that you have a clean snapshot which you can recover from. Now, let me talk about Druva differentiators quickly. I think from a foundational perspective, right? What are the differentiators here? So some of the things come automatically to us because the way we have been architected today in the cloud itself. For example, data integrity and security. Now, the way we are architected in the cloud, we use object-based storage and we use a cloud native architecture, which is automatically resistant to malware attacks. What does it mean? So what it means is that we are separating data and metadata, and also we are keeping the data in an object store, which act as a worm storage. So it doesn't allow any overwrites. It has versioning enabled on top of it. So, and it also has 3 copies of your data created automatically, making sure that if one copy is impacted anyhow, there are other 2 copies which can be used from a recovery perspective. From a security perspective, we have a zero trust architecture, which makes sure that we do not store any encryption keys with us. We follow a digital envelope encryption scheme, which makes sure that the encryption key is not maintained by Druva, but is something which customer has access to, and they can change the encryption keys and all. Now, from a recovery perspective, first piece is orchestration. As I said, we integrate with other security tools like SIM and SOAR-based tools. Recover with confidence, the ability to go and scan your snapshots for indicators of compromise. And finally, the automation wherein we are creating that golden snapshot, wherein you can go and recover your data. So these are the Druva differentiators which help you in a ransomware recovery case. I'm going to quickly talk about a case study here. This is a Druva customer, and they were actually using Veeam before they started using Druva, and they were impacted by a ransomware. Their experience with Veeam was very cumbersome. Their recoveries with Veeam were extremely slow, just because of the reason, because you don't know which snapshot was encrypted. Druva helped them create those golden snapshots and recover very quickly. While we were doing this, we were also 50% lower TCO than Veeam, because Veeam, if you're implementing, you need your own hardware. You need to make sure if you want, whether you want to create a replication copy. Keep in mind, Druva create 3 copies of your data. So there's added replication by default. So we don't take these things lightly, whether it comes of creating additional copies. So the TCO for us was lower than the Veeam. And the most biggest piece for the customer was that they were able to recover fully. There was not even a single file which they couldn't recover in this ransomware attack. They didn't lose any data altogether. So there's one customer, Vertrax, which the case study is available on our website as well. But I just wanted to talk to you about, like, there's a customer who was open to talk about their story, and they shared that they were using Veeam and they got infected. And with Druva, the recovery piece was very simple, and they were able to recover very quickly. This is one of the quotes from a law firm in North America. And this is what we have been saying to our customers, that in any incident, manually finding and restoring clean profiles is one of the hardest things to do, right? And that's why we created that golden snapshot of accelerated recovery option, wherein you can automatically quarantine the snapshots, you can make them clean, and you can recover your data. So it basically streamlines your whole process. Now, if you're an enterprise who's wondering how this entire ransomware recovery workflow looks like, so in the industry, there's a term known as ransomware recovery playbook. So the idea is that it starts with day one when you get infected by a ransomware to the day where you're 100% recovered and clean. And Druva plays a very important role in it today. And now there might be other tools which you might use. You might use your security tools for identification. And that's the idea, that there's no one tool which can help you recover or protect your data. But it is advantageous to have a backup copy. But that backup copy should also work with your other tools which you're using today from a security perspective. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much. I'll give it back to Anju. So back to you, Anju, and let me know if there are any questions or anything I may answer.
Thank you so much, Bhaskar. Really encourage the participants to send us questions. We will answer them during the Q&A session. Moving forward, Rani, if you can share the screen, please. We will move to Ziao's presentation.
How we can actually protect our data as well as from ransomware. So, hi everyone. Just to give a bit of introduction about myself. My name is actually Zhihao. I'm a solutions architect at Cloud Kinetics. So today, the content that I'm going to go through is focusing on actually 3 areas. The key challenges, introduction to how Cloud Kinetics can actually help you to protect your data from ransomware, like what we heard earlier from what Bhaskar actually mentioned, how we can actually implement the Druva technology, as well as use a bit of opportunity to share real-life custom use cases. So let's dive straight into the key challenges that IT faces today. Just drawing references from the most recent, at least for the past 2 years, what we have been experiencing, which is the coronavirus outbreak, right? So this pandemic has actually caused many companies, or actually is a push for many companies, to rethink about how they actually operate, and they have actually transitioned to a new normal. And this new normal often it means that they need to move to a more online sphere, a more digital world. As we move to a more digital way of operating, it poses many challenges, right? So some of the challenges that companies may actually face, which is actually quite prevalent in many companies, is actually cost. Budget is always a concern because there's, while we want to push digital, there may be limited cash flow for any new digital initiative projects. And we also read reports about how, the global supply chain for tech hardware has actually been disrupted, whereby the global production fell and by the demand, although when the demand rises. So earlier on, we also talk about, cyber threats increased in, we talk about moving towards the digital sphere. What this often translates to is that there's an increase in the cyber potential for cyber-related risks that companies may actually occur. So companies do need to be extra vigilant in preventing all these cyber threats, such as ransomware, and how we can actually, because all these repercussions of these cyber incidents can be quite severe. It does not only affect your own so-called employees, it affects your end users as well. And lastly, for legal compliance concerns is that more often than not, forward-thinking organizations now have to think about, implementing privacy into their design so that they can meet regulatory standards such as GDPR, for example. Okay, so I mean, it was just a very quick introduction about what are the key challenges that company faces today in terms of today's IT world. That's where Cloud Kinetics can actually come in to help you implement technologies such as Druva to protect your workload from ransomware, for example. And the ultimate aim is to really to empower you to achieve your business resiliency, as well as to realize more value from your backed up data, despite the challenges that that we went through earlier. So what we can actually do is how we can actually help you is that we can actually build a very strong data protection for your workloads, especially based on best practices. What this means is that it will actually be comprehensive, meaning to say that you have the broadest set of data workloads protected all in a single platform. Keeping in mind also, just now we talk about potential or cyber related activities, threats such as ransomware. So when we implemented it right from the beginning, we always think about how we can implement it from the highest level of security and privacy so that we can actually protect your data from ransomware and from data isolation. I mean, we can actually help you prevent it. Data is, of course, a very strong piece in today's world, how you operate your business as well. So that's where we can come in as well. We can actually help you derive more value from the data. And when we implement, we not only just want to protect your workload from any cyber-related activities, but we also want to help you meet any compliance standard that you may actually have. So earlier on, I mean, Bhaskar shared about how Druva is actually a very, very easy to use technology platform. So that's also in line of how Cloud Kinetics, when we actually deliver your solution, that we want it to be ease of use, and as well as you have a one single plane of platform to manage, and when you actually protect your entire data workloads, protect your data for your workloads. And last but not least is that costing. Earlier on, we also talked about cost being a major factor in companies' consideration on how they want to implement their IT solutions. So right from the beginning of when we engage with you, typically we will not only just the functional and the technical piece, we'll work with you to find a solution that's actually best fitted for your for whatever goals that you want to achieve, in line with whatever budget that you have. So essentially, with Cloud Kinetics and Druva, what we can do is that we are actually your natural data protection partner, and they will actually be most compatible with your whatever architecture or strategy that you may have. So I also like to use this time now to share a bit customer use cases with you. So for the first customer use case, it's actually a healthcare industry. What the problems and the challenges that this particular customer face is that this customer actually has a non-HA, which is high availability storage, which was actually stored offsite, and they want to actually, they want to have a way to protect their data workload that is not too expensive, right? So to put things into perspective, actually, their secondary site, although it hosts their backup data and archival data, is actually up for renewal. And this poses them as a momentum, to explore cloud, or in this case, Druva, to actually re-architect their backup and archival strategy, exposed to keeping up with, the so-called, if I may put it, the legacy way of protecting their data. So what we did for this particular customer is we provided a one-stop shop for managed backup services. Of course, we are implementing the technologies of Druva to really maintain, operate, and manage their backup and archival requirements. This strategy that we did, it fits into their requirements that they need. So their disaster recovery and data protection was actually centralized in the form of using Druva. And this was actually complemented by our Cloud Kinetics managed backup services, which is actually 24/7. I mean, it's a 24/7 service desk. And any remediation that you may occur, which I'll talk about later, or what our managed services can provide, we will resolve it for you immediately based on the SLA that we actually have in place. So for the second customer, it's more in the manufacturing and environmental industry for this customer. Just to sum up the requirements for this customer actually is that they wanted disaster recovery as a services on the cloud. And they do have an existing on-premise backup that's actually protecting their backup workload. So if you see in the diagram, the so-called the architecture design over there, on the left-hand side is actually the customer's on-prem workload. On the right-hand side is actually the cloud side of things. On the top of the right-hand side is actually the Druva Phoenix Cloud, which is actually like what we learned earlier on about how Druva operates, is that it's actually powered and hosted in AWS. And on the bottom, on the right-hand side bottom, is actually the customer's own AWS account. So what these solutions does is that it allows a seamless disaster recovery as a service, meaning to say that in the event of a disaster, there's a very, very seamless way of backing up the data and to do a failover to the AWS cloud. And in the event that, let's say in the event a disaster happens, so let's say when things are back to normal, we can actually always fail back to direct the traffic back to the on-premises site. Just to share a little bit as well on how this technology works is that there will be a DR copy, disaster recovery copy that will be actually created in the that will actually read the data from the Phoenix Cloud, and this copy will be stored in the customer's own AWS account. And in the event of anything happens, how it facilitates the failover is that this DR copy will actually be used to create an EBS volume, and this EBS volume will in turn be used to spin up a VM. So that's how the failover works. And in the case of a failback, is that the Druva on-prem will actually read the data from the EC2 instances on the customer's AWS account and use that information, to actually spin up a virtual machine disk and turn to spin up a VM. Of course, we will actually direct using DNS. We actually can actually direct the traffic back to point it to the on-premises site. So, to sum up, I mean, I'll be happy to take in questions at the end, but in the interest of time, just to sum up what Cloud Kinetics can do, to share a little bit of our managed services approach, is that we do have a managed services approach, besides helping you implement the Druva technologies or whatever technologies that you need to protect your data, protect it from ransomware. What we do is also we take care of the operational phase as well. Our managed services is easily reachable by either phone, email, or portal, and it's a 24/7 operation, so that in the event of any escalation that you may have, you can always reach out to our dedicated duty manager or engineer who will resolve your any incident that you may occur at the fastest time possible according to the SLE that we have actually set in place. So to come on board, to get us to engage us to work in this, to partner with you, to work on this. There's actually we split up into four broad approaches. The first phase is actually consult, whereby we will it's our first meeting with you, so we will try to understand what is it that you want to achieve. What is it that you have? What is your limitations? What is your constraints? And we will think of a proposal for you, and that proposal is definitely in line with whatever budget constraints that you may have. So that's why it comes in place with the TCO analysis as well. Thereafter, after you understand this initial meeting, after you understand what exactly is your challenges and how we can actually help, that's where we will go more in depth, for example, to understand, to start to design your solution, your architecture for security, as well as for high availability. And we will come up with a project plan and a scope of work, and we will detail it to you to work it through with you. So thereafter, we will actually onboard your existing infrastructure to our managed services portfolio, and we will continue to provide the end-to-end services. That's where the delivery will start, right? We'll come off to do your assessment, kickoff meeting, and we will start to implement whatever solutions that we have actually designed and planned for. And after the day one of planning, that's where day two comes into play, which is operations. We will, whatever operations that we have, O&M that we have, is actually complemented by our 24/7 support and monitoring. We do a very proactive approach on how we manage your operations, in the sense that we always look at your entire workloads, your entire environments, and we think of ways, to how to streamline your operations, as well as do any cost optimizations if such opportunity arises. Yeah. So with that, right, I actually sort of ended my brief introduction of what Cloud Kinetics do and how we can actually help you. Then maybe I can just pass the time off to Anju.
Thank you, Ziao. Okay, now we move on to the Q&A session. If you have any questions, you can just type it in the chat window and send it to us, and we'll address them. We already have one question from Yeremia, and I'm reading this out to you, Bhaskar and Ziao. Several months ago, I got an attack of ransomware, IQQW, and it's locked random data in my Dropbox. How can I recover the data? Because I don't have a backup data.
That's a great question. Thanks, Sanju, and thanks,
Yeremia.
See, it's very difficult if you don't have a backup copy. The alternate way to recover from a ransomware is to have the encryption key of the ransomware, which encrypted your data. So you might want to check, and by the way, there are certain tools which can basically provide you the encryption key. They are being built, but it takes time. I'll tell you, a typical ransomware, a new ransomware gets introduced into a system, and if the fingerprint and it's not known to the security teams, it takes time, a long time, to break that ransomware encryption scheme itself, right? So you might be waiting months, and sometimes in cases years, to get that data back. So it's very important. Think of backup copy as an insurance through which you can quickly recover without paying the ransom. That's what I would say. In your case, unfortunately, if you don't have the key and if you don't have the backup, that backup is almost lost now.
Okay, Bhaskar, another one. So Louis Emmanuel wants to know, if I perform a backup process, will it cause a lack of process that affects the performance of the running application or service, especially if my application is running the data is transactional?
That's a great question, Louis. So my response to that is, if you look at backup applications today, they have become application aware. So I'll give you an example. Let's say if you are running a database like Microsoft SQL, right? A SQL can today be backed up in a manner wherein even if you are running a high IO database, there'll be very, very negligible impact of running a backup, right? There are best practices. For example, if you're running your database, whether you're running that as standalone or you're running in cluster. Let's pick an example. If you're running it in a standalone environment, then we create snapshots, and these snapshots are not IO intensive at all. The other example is when you're running into a cluster. Let's say you're running it in an HA cluster, and the backups can happen from a secondary node rather than primary node where your IO is happening. So there are techniques through which we can make sure that the backups do not interfere in your production workload at all. The database is one example, but there are plenty of other ways which can be done.
Sure. Thank you, Bhaskar. There's one more. I think, Ziao, this one is for Cloud Kinetics. Is Cloud Kinetics able to help you with your professional services and managed services in terms of protecting your data workloads?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Cloud Kinetics, just to share that we are actually a so-called cloud first partner. So we do actually a broad ranges of things, not just protecting or backing up your data or protecting your data in terms of workload. We do other things as well, such as any cloud implementations that you may require, not just in terms of backup. This is some of the things that we definitely do help you, and the services that we provide does not restrict just to the professional services as well. It does translates to after the day one of operations, day two, when you start to the solutions is implemented and you start to do the O&M. That's where our managed services offerings can come in as well. And we do have a proactive approach in terms of how we want to look at your workloads, look at your operations, look at your environment, and how we can actually optimize your entire environment, not only in terms of your workload infrastructure, but as well as your cost optimization. So to answer the question in short, yes, we do provide implementation services as well as managed services for data protection. In this case, since we're on the Druva topic as well, so Druva is one of the technologies that we do help implement as well.
Thank you, Ziao. I think it's time for some excitement out there. So Nim, can we have the Druva team with the SJ? Over to you.
Yeah, no problem. So let's go on to the exciting portion right now. Let me just, not that the previous speakers were not exciting, just to highlight, but it's always good to have a bit of a game session before everyone break off. So hey, yeah, guys, we're gonna go into game session, but just as a reminder, like really what's on the table. Very shortly, you guys are all gonna play a game of Kahoot with us. Don't worry if you have never played it before. I'm gonna give you the instructions, but the top 3 winners will basically be getting a 60, 40, and $20 prepaid credit card. All right. And after today's webinar, please speak to any one of us. The Cloud Kinetic team will also reach out to you. If you could, have a discovery session with us, you get another $50 prepaid card. And if you are eligible for a POC, and you finish the POC with us, you get to top up another $100 to this prepaid card as well. Okay, so it's very, very exciting incentives that we are going to propose. All right. So to prepare you guys for the game, there's something that there's just one thing that you guys need to prepare, which is like a second screen. So if you are like me, working from home, I have 2 screens. That would be good. If you do not have a second screen, you could use your phone. That would be good enough. Okay. How to play right now? If you're using the web browser or using your phone as the second screen, all right, go to kahoot.it. Forget about the Kahoot app on the phone. Just go to this website, kahoot.it. All right. So once you go into the Kahoot IT, they will ask you for a game pin. I'm going to show you the game pin shortly. Okay. Once you enter the game pin, they will ask to enter your name. Now, to enter your name, do ask a favor. Please put in your name / the company that you're working for. So just in case, let's say there's 2 Bhaskar, in this session, for example, then at the very least, we want to give the prize to the correct person. All right. So once you key in your name, just make sure your name is being flashed onto my screen. And as long as you see your name, you can just wait for the game to start. All right. Kahoot is a very simple trivia question. So whoever get the most correct answer in the fastest possible time, you basically win the game. All right. Here's an example on how it's going to look like now. In what you guys are seeing in this Zoom meeting right now, you're going to see the presenter screen. This is where I will flash the questions and answer, right? So for example, you've got this question here. Druva is a cloud what SaaS solution powered by what, right? So it's up to you. If you think it's cloud native / AWS, you could click onto it, but do not click onto the presenter's screen, which is this Zoom screen that you guys are seeing. Click onto your second screen. So if you're using your phone, okay, click onto the corresponding shape and color. All right, don't click onto, again, just a reminder, don't click on what you're seeing on the Zoom screen. If not, the answers will not be captured. Okay, that's all. Okay, I'm gonna go to Kahoot. So everyone, just go to kahoot.it right now. Just give me like 10 seconds. I'm gonna generate the pin for you guys, and then I will flash the pin for everyone. Okay, so remember, go to kahoot.it first and wait for the game pin. Okay, the game pin is up. Anju, could you let me know roughly how many, oh, I can see the participants, about 23, 24 including. So I think we're gonna just let everyone register, right? So I think I'm gonna just wait for like 3 minutes, you know, for everyone to register. So guys, go to kahoot.it, and then once they ask you for the game pin, put in this game pin, okay? 1200219. All right. Remember, put in your name / your company name. All right. Okay, we've got 2 right now. So about 20 over participants. All right, guys, keep them coming. It's about 12:40 right now. So I'm gonna just wait for 3 minutes, okay? And then I know we are already overrunning, but I'll try to end everything by 12:50. All right. Three more guys. Not 3 more, I said 3 more minutes, guys. So just in case you're wondering what the trivia is, basically, if everyone has been paying attention to what Bhaskar have been sharing about Druva and our ransomware recovery feature, it's just going to be 10 trivia questions, okay? 10 trivia questions, all on what Bhaskar has already covered earlier. So we've only got 4 right now. Anyone joining? Anyone else going to join? If you guys are having technical issues, please, you know, sound off too, okay? If you're not too sure how to work on this Kahoot. 2 more minutes, guys, before I close the registration.
It's 1200219. 1200219.
Okay, 4-person. You know, the top 3 are getting a prize. So at this pace, right, if there's only 4-person, there's only 1 unlucky person that won't get anything. Yeah. Guys, come on, encourage you guys to join, because you know there's so many of you. You guys are not exiting the Zoom chat. Then might as well just join and have fun. So 7 guys now. It's 12:43. I'm gonna do a last 10 seconds, and then we're just gonna start. All right. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so we've got 7 players here. I'm going to start, okay, and may the best person win. All right. So get ready. 10 questions trivia. So question 1, what is a ransomware trend observed in the market today? For every question, you have 20 seconds to answer, by the way. Read carefully, okay, because sometimes it could be a trick question.
question should appear on the screen.
The question should be on the screen, but when you answer,
Browser.
you answer from the, as I've mentioned, the second screen. So it should be the corresponding shape and color.
Okay.
Okay. So in this case, anyway, 4-person attempted to answer. 2 of you got it right. So congratulations. I put all of the above there as a trick because I know that's what people tend to click. But if you read carefully, what is a ransomware trend? Ransomware attacks are reducing. Is that true? I don't think that's true. Companies are perfectly fine with paying ransom. Is that true? No, that's definitely not true. So one real trend that we are really seeing is that backup data are being deleted before ransom notes are sent. So that's something that I personally already encountered a couple of times this year. Next, question 2. Okay, so just look at the score. So Budi, and I think it's Pupi, or Pupi, if I pronounce your name correctly, congratulations. So next. Question 2. What does Druva's operational security consist of? All right, so this is actually, this time it is all of the above. So apart from the 24/7, backend ops team that we have, we do periodically do our own vulnerability scans as well as pen testing to make sure that our cloud platform is very safe and very secure. All right, so looking at the updates, good. So the top 2 remains the same, and new person who joined in, I think it's Mr. Hong, or yeah, Fong, if I pronounce it correctly. So Budi and Pupi, if you're wondering how come if you have the same number of correct answers, but why Pupi are behind, so this is where time counts, okay? So you're probably a few seconds behind Budi. So what workloads are supported in Druva's accelerated ransomware recovery? So we do this ransomware recovery feature, but it's only supported for certain workloads. All of the above, okay? So we do file servers, endpoint, as well as NAS for our ransomware recovery feature. So next. Okay, we've got a new second place, Mr. Hong. And let's go up. What does our abnormally detection do? So we have an abnormally detection. What does it do? Good. Actually, most of you got it correct. So yes, detecting data anomalies in backup patterns, all right? So next. Okay, on fire, Budi, literally. So let's go on. So Druva offers API integration with, SIEM and SOA platforms. True or false? Yeah, true. So I'm happy everyone who answered got it correctly. Okay, so this one, okay, some changes in the ranking. Next. Question 6, multi-select. So what does our foundational security actually cover or offers? Okay, select 2. So there's 2 correct answer, all right? Okay, so I think actually quite a number of you got it correct. That's very, very good. So our foundational security, if you guys recall, basically just means this is built in all our products. It's actually the base of our cloud security. There's no need for you to add any additional security features or modules, in order to get this. All of our customers basically get to enjoy this foundational security feature. All right. So since we talk about foundational security, okay, looking at, okay, so Budi still up, good job. So since we talk about foundational security, we're going to talk about the accelerated recovery. So this is the add-on module. So also, what are the other two areas that we actually cover? You guys, those who got it correct previously should definitely get this correct, because yeah. Okay, so it's the accelerated recovery, basically it's that additional ability to scan for malware and also to do auto finding and recovery. So this is an add-on module. The foundational security is actually, in this case, the other two, whereby our cloud is built to resist malware attacks, as well as our zero trust architecture. Just looking at the updates. Okay, oh, there's actually a few new people coming in, like Louis, so congratulations. Next. So what improves significantly when you use our auto recovery feature? Well, why actually does that help you improve, in terms of your operations? Yes, recovery time objective. Okay, so because as you guys remember, what Bhaskar mentioned, it is very time consuming to manually and trial and error trying to figure out which is your clean file and which is a healthy snapshot. So get it. Budi, I think you've got everything correct so far. So we've got top three. Budi, I think is Luong and Fong. Okay, top three. Question 9. This is in the Vertrax case study. What challenges did the customer face in the Vertrax case study? All of the above is the correct answer. All right. Now, this is the last question. Let's see any changes. Okay, so our top three are Budi, Luong, and Fong. Okay, Pupi, you do have some chance. So as long as the top three, one of them answer wrongly, I think you still stand a good chance. So may the best winners win. All right. Final question. Back to the case study. So why did Vertrax choose to switch to Druva? Yep, all of the above is correct answer. This time everyone got it correct. And let's look at our top three winners. Coming in third place, Mr. Hong, I hope I'm pronouncing correctly. And then Luong, and then number one who got everything correct. Okay, Budi, congratulations. So these are our top three winners. Don't worry, these are all being recorded. So all the gifts will be, the CK team will reach out to you guys, and then you guys will be awarded with the gift, okay? So again, congratulations, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Very sorry we went over time. And yeah, everyone, have a good day and stay safe and take care, all right? So
Yep.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining. So we will send you the recording of this meeting. Thank you for taking time out. Thank you. Bye-bye.